I'm excited to be here this morning with Anna Silberman and John Guehl. It is good to see you both. How are you this morning?
We're doing well, thank you.
Yeah, we're fine. Sun is
Good.
shining, beautiful day, and we're happy to see you.
Yeah.
It is always better when the sun is out, and particularly, as you were saying, when you get out on a golf course. But I'll ask you about that just a little bit later on. What part of the South Hills are you guys living in?
We live at Nevillewood, which is very close to Mount Lebanon and not far from the temple then.
And I'm moving from the North Hills. My house, which is still for sale, and I'd be happy to talk to anyone that's looking for property in the North Hills, just saying, is near Heartwood Acres.
Fair enough. That is a good plug, and anyone who is listening, please let me know, and I'm happy to connect you with John. So I heard a dog barking in the background. Tell us about your dog.
Well, how about if I show you our dog?
Please.
Her name is Pearl, and she's a pearl of a girl.
Beautiful, beautiful. So I'm guessing she's not a Great Dane if you're about to go pick her up.
She's no great.
No,
She's no great
Dane.
Dane.
She happens to be a wired-haired dachshund with a pretty pink bow and a very good girl. Look at this. Look at the camera. Perhaps if you had a cheeseburger, she would be more interested.
I trust. I'd be more interested.
I'm not a dog person, but I've experimented with Pearl. There's nothing that she won't eat.
Last night she had watermelon for dessert.
She'll wolf down a bread and butter pickle. Anything.
I'm a little worried Pearl eats better than I do right now. I'm gonna have to come over for dinner.
Anytime.
So tell me, other than Pearl, what keeps the two of you busy during the day? How are you spending your time right now?
Well, we sort of go our separate ways during the day. We're both retired, much as though we were working. I, as mentioned, retired, spend a lot of time working on my hobbies, which is primarily working on automobiles. So I go to a garage that I have with a friend and usually help him doing something or work on my own or just do general running around related to that. As I mentioned, I have a house for sale, which is the other end of the city. So I have to go over there a couple of days a week to cut the grass and keep that in order. So that's how my day goes.
Yeah, I'm going to add to what John just said and invite any listeners who are interested in antique cars. He has quite a collection and they're fun to go for, a ride around the block. And so if anybody is interested, it's, he's very good at it.
Just wear old clothes and be prepared to push, because that happens. Bring some clothes also.
Fair enough. So I imagine that is both a hobby and a great source of joy. What else do you guys do for fun? What brings you happiness right now?
You didn't tell me what you do during the day.
Yeah, well, I'm not nearly as exciting as you are. I do some volunteer work with several boards. I'm very interested in the Make-A-Wish Foundation, which is really struggling right now because people can't travel, and that's primarily their wishes. They want to, children want to have experiences when they are terminally ill or have faced life-threatening disease and disability. And so that's been a real struggle for that organization. And there's so many children who are just so disappointed. And so that's been a bit of a struggle and really hit hard by COVID. They certainly many of them have cancer and they're immunosuppressed. And so they can do very little other than go to their doctor's appointments and back. And we were on the subject of dogs. One little girl recently changed her wish from going to Disney World to having a puppy. And that was a doable wish. And so, that was very gratifying, and to see her get so much joy, especially on days that she doesn't feel well. And this little puppy seems to know when she's up for playing or up for cuddling. And so that takes up, a good bit of time. I'm also involved with an organization called Face to Face for people with facial disfigurement. There's very little public awareness about that, but people are kind of confined to home like we've been, but confined for lifetimes because people react so strongly when they see them that they don't want to face that. people who've had cancers of the head and neck and that kind of thing. So that is, that's also been, an important thing that I've been involved in. I
Tell
also
about
love,
Alexis Joy Kelly.
oh,
That's my
and
favorite.
and then John and I together are very involved with an organization called the Alexis Joy Achilles Foundation. It's based at West Penn Hospital, and it's for women who have postpartum depression. And up until now, there have been very few services available. And for people who have been needing inpatient care, for women who have needed inpatient care, they've been reluctant to get involved because they can't bring their baby. However, with this program, it offers daycare and it offers a place for people to be who need inpatient care with their baby. So they don't have to be separated, they don't have to stop nursing and all of that. And it's really important, and it affects so many more women than we realize. We went from one psychiatrist to 8 in a matter of a year and a half. That's how much demand is out there, and people are coming from the tri-state area really to be for the services. So that's been very rewarding, and we've both been very involved with that. In fact, John was the chief medical officer of West Penn at the time it was introduced, which made it easy to bring it to bring it to.
It gave us something to talk about on dates. So
So anyway, so that has been a real success story. And really, I think one of the most moving parts of the story is how it started. There was a young father who lost his wife after she tried to access services and was turned down. She happened to be a very beautiful young woman, and people said that and the psychiatrist that she saw in the emergency department said that beautiful women rarely hurt themselves. Can you believe that? They sent her home, and that night she took her life. So he was actually the reason we started this. He wanted to do something so that her death would not have been in vain, and so that their little girl could look to the program and say that this is here because of my mom. And that's exactly what's happened.
Wow, it is inspiring and sacred work that you are involved in. Thank you for bringing these vital services not only to the community, but to our attention as well.
Right. And I think it's important that it not be, women feel guilty for being depressed after having a baby. They should only feel happiness. But the reality is, because of our hormones, it throws us off kilter. And it's really normal. It's normal to feel blue.
Yeah. If anybody watching this really wants to see something that's enlightening and uplifting, they should go to the website or contact us, and we'll put you in touch with it. The story is just an unbelievably remarkable story of what happened to the woman, and how her husband has reacted to it. It's really something.
Thank you for sharing that, and I will post a link to that website in the comment box so everyone is able to follow along. But I understand that you do, when you get a few moments away, you're also getting out on the golf course a little bit. Something you both enjoy?
No. No, something Anna enjoys.
So John's been really, really a good sport about it, and he's doing so well. He doesn't realize that he makes fun of himself, but he actually is doing fabulously.
I do everything except enjoy it. Really, it's Anna likes it, and I like Anna, so that's why we do it.
It is one of those frustrating games where you can have this terrible round and then hit one good shot that keeps you coming back for more.
You like to play, Rabbi?
At various points in life I have. I'm pretty sure if I tried to tell Emily now I want to go away for 2 hours and be without the kids, I would be bringing more trouble into my life than the game is worth.
It's not a sport. It's not a sport to enjoy when you have young children.
True enough. So tell me the best thing you have read lately, or the best thing you have watched, what are you turning to for outside entertainment right now?
Just the things that aren't embarrassing, right?
Yeah.
Right now we're watching Schitt's Creek.
Have you seen that?
Heard good things.
It is.
It's really funny.
It's a sort of a shame that that's because that's what they named it. Because when it was out, I thought, I have no interest in watching this. It's going to be the Beverly Hillbillies and Green Acres or something stupid. But it really is a very touching. It's funny, and it's not meant to be serious. Well, I take it back. It's not presented as serious, but it touches on many serious topics in a really good way. I'd recommend it to pretty much anybody.
Yeah.
You have to give it a couple, like so many things, you have to give it a couple episodes as they introduce the characters, but it's really an interesting show and not nearly as trivial as its name presents itself.
Right. And it's the acting is superb. The acting is really good, and you really do get into the characters and feel for them. And we watched a brief documentary about how and why it was filmed and how it was casted. And it was very impressive. And I guess one of the couples is a gay couple, and it's portrayed in a way that it's there's nothing unusual about it, about being a gay couple today, and in a very refreshing and positive light. Like it's the way.
It's not preachy at all.
No, it's the way of the world. It's the way of their world, and it's wonderful for that reason.
That is wonderful.
It is. It's really very, very well done, and it's not real socially correct. It's not PC. It's just the way things would be with them and their friends and their people. It's pretty good.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. In terms of reading, John is the real reader. He can blast through, books in tiny print that are this thick in a day or two.
I just don't remember anything. It's she gives me the same book every week, and I just read it over, and I say, "What a nice book that is."
But he recommended one to me, so I thought, okay, I'm going to try this too. And it was called "The Malady of" what the heck was it?
The Emperor of All Maladies.
The Emperor of All Maladies. I got halfway through it, and I just wanted to throw the thing away because it was very dry, and it's about the history of cancer. And I just would rather read something much more uplifting, like the last book he gave me, which was The Art of Racing in the Rain. I don't know if you've heard of that book.
I have, and I have read it.
You've read it, and the movie? Well, I thought that dog was smarter than many humans. And I mean that in the way he perceived things and so on. And I thought the book written in the voice of a dog was so surprisingly wonderful. I loved it.
I loved it as well, although I will admit to shedding more than one tear as I worked my way through it.
Yes, me too.
How about the movie? Annie bawled like a child during the movie.
Yeah. Tell them about some of the things that you like to read. It's much more interesting.
No, mostly I read very little nonfiction. I like historical things. Read a book that I'd recommend. It's called, if you like history and like Western Pennsylvania history, called Braddock's Defeat, which is a fascinating book about the Battle of the Monongahela, which a lot of people from Pittsburgh are aware of it in a general way, but was a pivotal battle that occurred basically in Braddock, Pennsylvania, in the French and Indian War, that really changed the nature of the country in many, many ways. If you can make the argument that there's been no more important battle ever on the American continent, including Civil War battles or Revolutionary battles, and few battles anywhere that affected history as much. And it's, for some reason, not really well known. So that was a terrific book. Read that. Read another one on a thing. Everybody's seen the movie about the Apollo 13 flight. The book from which it was made is called Lost Moon. By Jim Lovell, and I think he had somebody help him write it, which is also a fascinating book about overcoming adversity. The movie makes it sound like, gee, they were in trouble, but they were going to get through it. You read the book, and they all thought they were going to. Everybody thought they were goners, including them, and it's pretty interesting.
Yeah. Guess what? Tell them what we saw last night.
Oh, what we saw last night. There's a website. I can't remember exactly, but it tells you when the space shuttle is going to go over your area, wherever it is. And you look up this website put up by NASA, and it'll tell you what time and what roughly what directions it goes. So someone told me about it yesterday, and at 10:01 last night, the space shuttle flew over Western Pennsylvania. And sure as heck, if you looked up,
We saw it. We saw it.
It looked like the brightest star you ever saw moving across the sky. If you would have seen it on TV, you would have thought they faked this. They said, "Oh, it wouldn't be like that." It was fascinating. And any kid, especially nowadays, that had any sense of science or any sense of, why should I study physics, or who cares about trigonometry, or, what good is this stuff really? I think if you showed them that and said that's how it all happens, that's what makes it work, I think it would be an interesting thing. And it wasn't late. This was 10 o'clock, so anybody could stay up for it. So that's I forget what was the website. I'll have to find it. I'll get it to you. But it was fascinating. So we just did that last night.
No, very neat.
By the way, I see that this says live on Facebook, but I didn't realize it. And it's interesting. I have 4 texts from people who are watching this. So, hi everybody. Thanks for your text.
Yeah, as I mentioned, it's such a wonderful way to get to connect with people right now, though we can't be together in person. And I know that is, it is both jarring and upsetting, particularly in a place that prizes community. Being able to see you on the screen like this is a blessing for all of us. And I'm grateful to the 2 of you for making the time today. Thank you so much for joining in this program.
Thanks for having us.